Following on from the first instalment of Forgotten TV Detectives, Volume 2 features more small-screen crime fighters from the past who are now either forgotten or at least overlooked. Today's selection includes many series that have been requested by you, the great viewers of Stuview TV. Now, for many, Boris Karloff's name will likely conjure images of Frankenstein's monster, the mummy, or a host of other spine-chilling roles that cemented his place as the master of horror. However, he was a versatile and incredibly prolific actor, and in 1954 he brought his unique gravitas and intelligent charm to our television screens as the enigmatic Colonel March. Despite being a British series, Colonel March of Scotland Yard first aired in the United States in December 1954, before making its debut in the UK in September 1955. The series comprised 26 episodes, each a self-contained mystery focusing on the bizarre and inexplicable. March himself was a former head of Scotland Yard's Department D3, a special branch dedicated to solving what were known as R-class crimes. That's R for riddles. These weren't your everyday robberies or simple whodunits. These were crimes so strange, so seemingly impossible that they defied conventional explanation. With his distinctive eye patch and his sharp deductive mind, March was the only man capable of unravelling such baffling puzzles. He didn't just solve crimes, he explained the impossible. For Boris Karloff, taking on the role of Colonel March allowed him to showcase his intellect and subtlety as an actor, proving he was far more than simply a horror film icon. His portrayal of March was calm and considered, bringing a sense of believability to even the most outlandish scenarios. For anyone with a fondness for cleverly constructed mysteries, a love for vintage British TV, or simply an appreciation for the acting talents of Boris Karloff, Colonel March of Scotland Yard is a bit of a gem. Private Investigator Mike Hammer was the creation of American author Mickey Spillane, first appearing in novels back in the late 1940s. The character of Hammer has been portrayed a number of times in film and television, but for me, and many others, it is Stacy Keach who best embodied the role. Keach first portrayed Hammer in the 1981 made-for-TV film Murder Me, Murder You, which then led to two successful series, Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer from 1984 to 1985, and the new Mike Hammer from 86 to 87, alongside several more feature-length specials. Although the series had a contemporary 1980s setting, it employed the look and feel of a classic film noir from the 1940s. Each episode was packed with shady characters and convoluted plots, all of which Hammer would cut through with a combination of his street smarts, his trusty .45 automatic, and a relentless pursuit of justice. While violence was certainly present in keeping with Spillane's original novels, the show also had a surprising amount of wit and self-awareness. Hammer's internal monologues, often delivered in a world-weary voiceover, added a bit of depth. He was a man out of time in many ways, but perfectly suited to the seedy underbelly of a modern city. The show managed to capture the hard-boiled essence without being overly grim, allowing Keach's charm to shine through. In an interview, Stacy Keach stated, "We've softened him up a little bit. To sustain a series on television, I think you need a certain humour, charm and vulnerability. Toughness is probably the least important factor."
Take my advice. Never draw your gun unless you intend to use it. Well, that's the...
Sledgehammer, he's no wuss.
Sledgehammer first burst onto screens in its native United States in September 1986, before debuting on British TV a year later in September 1987. A hilarious lampoon of the often over-the-top police action shows that dominated our screens at the time, such as Hunter, Sledgehammer was basically Dirty Harry played for laughs. The series followed the exploits of Inspector Sledgehammer, played in a wonderful deadpan style by David Rasche. Sledge was an unconventional police officer, his best friend being his .44 Magnum revolver, which had its own satin pillow. His philosophy on crime fighting could be summed up quite simply: if in doubt, shoot it, and then perhaps shoot it again.
My own invention. I call it a loudener.
A loud. Hammer, you were not supposed to shoot all the targets. Just the bad guys.
Right. I don't know where my head's at.
Results are in.
Fortunately, Sledge was paired with the infinitely more sensible detective Dory Durow, played by Anne-Marie Martin. Each episode saw Sledge's unique brand of law enforcement and utterance of his catchphrase, "Trust me, I know what I'm doing," invariably lead to chaos, massive property damage, and often an explosion or two.
We got vermin on the roof, but I got an idea.
He's bringing justice to a naughty world.
I think I got him.
Sledgehammer was a relentless stream of sight gags and referential humour. For a series that only ran for 2 seasons and is often overlooked today, Sledgehammer has always maintained a dedicated fan base who remain loyal to the show even now. A bit of a cult classic, Sledgehammer is still very much worth seeking out today.
Trust me, I know what I'm doing.
Portrayed by the incomparable Leslie Nielsen, the character of Lieutenant Frank Drebin is certainly not a forgotten detective. Similarly, the television series in which Drebin first appeared, Police Squad, is regarded by many as a classic. So why have I included Police Squad here? Well, for such a highly regarded, highly influential series, Police Squad is often unfairly overlooked today when talk turns to favourite television series of the 1980s. Think of the name Frank Drebin and it's likely the first thing that comes to mind is the brilliantly absurd Naked Gun film series. Such was the popularity of those films, many people might not realise, or perhaps have simply forgotten, that the bumbling, brilliant Lieutenant Frank Drebin and the comedic universe he inhabited originated not on the big screen, but on the small one, in this magnificent 6-episode wonder from 1982.
The girls from the typing pool will be there when the producers of the hit comedy movie Airplane crash onto television with Police Squad.
Is this some kind of bust?
Yes, it's very impressive, but we'd just like to ask a few questions.
Well, come on in.
And meet the new breed of cops stepping into the 80s.
Why don't you run along now, Katie? And next week I'll show you why women can't play professional football.
Each episode of Police Squad began with a dramatic voiceover-driven opening, followed by a hilariously wrong title card that bore no resemblance to the actual episode title. We then plunged into a seemingly serious crime, usually a murder, which Frank Drebin, played with an exquisite deadpan by Leslie Nielsen, would set out to solve. Nielsen, a veteran character actor previously known for serious roles, found his true calling in the 1980 film classic Airplane. His straight-faced delivery against a backdrop of absolute madness was, and still is, pure genius. The squad was packed with memorable running gags such as the special guest star being killed off in the opening credits and the freeze-frame ending to each episode where the actors desperately tried to remain still. It moved at a lightning pace, throwing jokes at you so fast you almost needed to watch it twice to catch them all. So, while the Naked Gun film series made Frank Drebin a household name, Police Squad remains the original, groundbreaking TV series. It's a show that, while perhaps overlooked by many today due to its brief run, is cherished by those who appreciate truly smart, innovative comedy. It's a testament to the fact that sometimes even the shortest of runs can leave the longest and most impactful legacy. At the heart of Hazell, first broadcast on ITV in January 1978, was the character of James Hazell himself, played with charisma and a certain swagger by Nicholas Ball.
Resourceful fellow. How on earth did you find us?
Just happened to be a better bloodhound than your little fella.
You trusted in the bottle, but in the end the bottle guns you down.
Now behave yourself.
Hazell was a former police detective kicked off the force for taking a bribe, a past that constantly hung over him. After a stint as a bouncer, he set himself up as a private investigator, operating out of a rather modest office in London. The series was based on a series of novels by P.B. Ewell, a collective pen name for journalist Gordon Williams, and Terry Venables. Yes, that Terry Venables, former footballer and manager of Tottenham Hotspur, Barcelona and England. The plots for Hazell were classic private eye fare: missing persons, blackmail, fraud and the occasional murder. Hazell wasn't a super sleuth with endless resources. He was a man getting by, often operating on the fringes, and usually ending up with a bruised ego or a sore head. Nicholas Ball's performance as Hazell made the character relatable, someone you could genuinely root for even with his past misdemeanours. It was a breakout role for Ball, who went on to have a long and varied career in British television. For those who love a good, authentic British detective story with a hero who's a bit rough around the edges but ultimately has a good heart, then Hazell is a must-watch. First broadcast in the US in September 1970 and the UK in April 1972, McCloud was the ultimate fish-out-of-water story. The series followed Deputy Marshal Sam McCloud, played with understated charm by Dennis Weaver. McCloud hailed from the wilds of Taos, New Mexico, a genuine cowboy lawman, complete with a Stetson hat, sheepskin jacket, and a drawl as slow and steady as a tumbleweed. He found himself, usually on temporary assignment, in the concrete jungle of New York City, attached to the 27th Precinct. The immediate and ongoing source of much of the show's charm and humour came from the clash of cultures. McCloud's no-nonsense, distinctly rural methods of law enforcement constantly baffled and frustrated his highly strung by-the-book superior, Chief Peter Clifford. Whether he was riding a horse through Times Square or using a lasso to apprehend a suspect, McCloud brought the spirit of the Old West to the bustling metropolis. Despite his homespun demeanour, he was a shrewd and resourceful detective. His seemingly naive questions often hid a razor-sharp intellect, allowing him to see solutions that the sophisticated city detectives might overlook. In the States, McCloud often aired under the NBC mystery movie format, rotating with other detective shows such as the legendary Columbo and McMillan and Wife, which we will get to shortly. While not as widely discussed today as Columbo, McCloud ran for an impressive 7 years and remains a firm favourite for those who remember it. It's a show that holds up surprisingly well, thanks to Dennis Weaver's central performance, the engaging mysteries, and the timeless appeal of a hero who's true to himself, no matter how alien his surroundings.
You want me to go out there and tell the world that the Brinkmann Security Agency has decided that the son of Butch Cassidy is on the loose in Manhattan and following in his father's footsteps?
Sitting alongside McCloud and Columbo under the NBC mystery movie umbrella, McMillan and Wife first aired in the UK in April 1972, having made its debut in the US in September 1971. Bringing a distinct blend of light-hearted mystery, romance and charming humour, the series centred on San Francisco Police Commissioner Stuart McMillan, played with charm and a relaxed authority by Hollywood legend Rock Hudson. Stuart's wife, Sally, played by Susan St. James, was very much his partner in crime solving, although often unintentionally so. With a boundless curiosity and uncanny knack for stumbling into murder mysteries, Sally was often the catalyst for their adventures. What truly made McMillan and Wife shine was the undeniable chemistry between Rock Hudson and Susan St. James.
Promise me one thing we get in the new house.
Okay, what?
Get him to set up the bed first.
Absolutely, I wouldn't have it any other way myself because there are certain initiation rites expected in a new home.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll get some sleep, huh? Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh, hello there, Fred.
Morning, Commissioner.
Hey, lady. Ain't you afraid he might end up in the wrong house?
Pardon me?
You forgot to put your mark on him.
You want to bet?
Legendary movie star Hudson transitioned effortlessly to the small screen, bringing his signature blend of leading man gravitas and a deft comedic timing. Susan St. James was the perfect foil, witty, independent and endearing. McMillan and Wife ran from 1971 to 1977 and became a popular staple of 70s television. However, after Susan St. James left the show, leading to the character of Sally being killed off in a plane crash, the sixth and final season was retitled to simply McMillan. Missing the chemistry between the two leads, the series was eventually cancelled. For those who remember it, McMillan and Wife remains a favourite and is a fine example of how star power and fantastic screen chemistry can elevate a series. While perhaps not as forgotten as some of the other shows featured in today's video, Shoestring was one of the series most requested in the comments section of the first Forgotten TV Detectives video, leading to its inclusion here. Shoestring first hit our screens in 1979 and immediately carved out its own niche in the crowded landscape of British detective dramas. What made it so distinctive was its original premise. Our hero wasn't a police officer or a traditional private eye, but rather an unconventional radio presenter who also happened to be a private investigator. Eddie Shoestring, played with depth by the excellent Trevor Eve, was a former computer expert who had suffered a nervous breakdown. As part of his rehabilitation, he found work at a local radio station in Bristol, where he hosted a phone-in show. But this wasn't just any phone-in show. It was called Phone-In Private Investigator, where listeners called in with their unsolved mysteries, personal dilemmas, and darkest secrets. Eddie would then take to the streets, using his sharp mind and his unique ability to connect with people to try and solve their problems. Set predominantly in Bristol, the series often portrayed the city's grittier side, with the cases touching on themes of mental health, social issues, and the struggles of everyday life. Trevor Eve's performance as Eddie Shoestring was captivating. You felt every one of his emotional struggles, frustrations, and quiet triumphs. Despite its popularity and critical acclaim, Shoestring ran for just 21 episodes over 2 series between 1979 and 1980. The reason for its brief run was quite simple. Trevor Eve decided to move on, concerned about being typecast as the character. Do you have a favourite amongst the shows featured today? Do please let me know in the comments. As always, many thanks for watching, and do join me next time for more nostalgic goodness.